Sons of Anarchy, Season 7, Episode 4 is over, but we're just getting started here on Sons of Anarchy Live on post-show recaps. And now, here are the two guys who are very, very excited to finally be shipping Tig and Venus. It's Rob Cesternino and Josh Wigler. Josh, how you doing? Good morning.
Good morning, Rob. What do we call that? Tennis?
Venus, yes. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh boy, so much went down, literally and figuratively, on the Sons of Anarchy, Pretty Little Lambs.
It was big. This was a big one. Is it wrong to say like I'm glad that all this carnage happened? Because I feel bad for everybody, but I think it's good for the show. I think that we're in a good spot right now.
Yes, well, the wheels are certainly in motion now here in the final season, and really all of these plans that they came up with in the beginning, really nothing has gone according to that plan.
Plan blew up, literally.
Oh my God, we had a grenade for you. We had the Diosa massacre, and all of this stuff is really coming down. And everything with the Chinese, Gemma's big lie, and Lynn's guys are not taking this lying down.
No, they've been tipped off. I wonder who did it.
Well, we'll talk about that. We'll break it all down and figure out who told what to who, and everything, and where this is going from here. And now, just first, Josh, very nice to be talking to you here on Wednesday morning, a new time slot for Sons of Anarchy Live.
It's also great to see your new digs, Rob.
Oh yes,
it's like when Teller Morrow blows up and you trade it in for the ice cream store.
I'm in the ice cream shop right now. Yeah, we're in New York for that. I'm here for one. We are having a birthday party for my son, the the Abel of podcasting. That Dominic is 1 year was 1 year old on Monday, and we're having a big first birthday party for him back in New York. That's where everybody, all of our family is from. But also on Rob Has a Podcast, we're going to be doing a live show at Gotham Comedy Club on Wednesday night. So a lot going on here for me to be in New York. And so, yeah, I am in my in-laws' basements.
There you go.
Yeah,
we appreciate the effort, Rob.
Yes, anytime you're podcasting from your in-laws' basement, that's usually a check mark. Things are going in the right direction.
Yeah, life is good. It's up and up. Thumbs up.
Yes. So I'll be here for a few more days as we get things back to normal for next week. But yeah, we're going to be doing this show on Wednesday mornings just to give us a little more time to review the episodes, and also, they end kind of late on the East Coast. A lot of people can't stay up late to watch us on Tuesday night, so hopefully more of you guys can join us every Wednesday. This is going to be the time slot at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll get those podcasts up for you guys as well as quickly as possible so you can listen to them on Wednesday.
Sounds good, Rob. We may have to talk offline about next week. Next week might be an exception.
Okay,
we'll discuss after the show.
We'll figure it out. We're on a week-to-week basis.
We're like Jack Seller. We don't have a vision. We just see what's in front of us.
We just see what's in front of us. And so happy to have you guys that are here with us live and as well in the archives. And if you want to do us a solid and help get the word out about Sons of Anarchy Live, you can do so on iTunes, 1, by subscribing, and 2, by giving us comments and feedback on our iTunes page, which is at postshowrecaps.com/sonsiTunes. Really, really would appreciate that, and it really does help out the show because it helps us climb the charts in iTunes. All right, Josh, let's jump into the big Diosa massacre. They're calling this was the highest body count officially on any Sons of Anarchy episode.
Is that true? That's what's being said?
That might be hyperbole, but I believe that is what's being bandied about this morning.
It certainly feels like it, It felt huge. And even without losing any supremely main characters, the closest to a real main character we lose in that massacre is Colette. And that's not an insignificant loss. She meant a lot to Jax, and I thought it was really good to see Kim Dickens back on the show last night. But then it turns out that she's only there to die. So it's huge. It's a big loss. And I think more than anything, it shows that Henry Lynn was good on his word. He warned Jax that he's going to turn Charming into a killing field, and he's done just that. It's not only the massacre at Diosa, it's the bomb going off at Scoops, throwing a grenade in the middle of Charming in broad daylight. It's a very big statement.
That was a big move. Now, how did we get to this point, Josh? I mean, we could speculate a little bit about who told what to who. So, do we just assume that it was Jury that ratted out the Sons to Lynn?
I mean, I think that is the leading possibility, right? I mean, there's other things that you could possibly consider, but I feel like they've been building up this Jury thing, and Jury certainly knows the plan against the Triad better than anybody else who would be in a position to rat, other than somebody who was a core member of the Sons. And I feel like we would have seen a little bit more of that. I don't think they would completely blindside us with somebody who is ratting on Jax from the inner circle, but someone like Jury, who we know has very significant reasons to not want Jax Teller to succeed anymore, I think that's where your money's got to go.
But I feel like it's more complicated than that, because also, did Jury know the location of the Chinese guns that the Sons were hoarding? So does that, do you think that Peter Weller is involved in this?
Well, it says something. When we see that shot of the gun storage at the docks, and the camera's panning, and you see the body of Orlin West, one of the former nomads who is now a member of Sam Crow. You see him lying there in a pool of blood. I thought we were going to see RoboCop there. Didn't you? Didn't you think that we were going to see Peter Weller on the ground there?
See, I'm a little confused with what went on with the Chinese guns that they ended up taking them. So they busted up that shipment. They took the Chinese guns. They took the heroin as well. They've been moving the heroin, but who knew where they were hiding the guns? I mean, are we to assume that it's in the same place that they were we were keeping the Mayan guns also?
Right. It's interesting. It's interesting to wonder where that bit of information came out. And I think suspecting RoboCop is not a bad instinct. He seems like a pretty self-interested guy. He's had a decent relationship with Jax and with Nero, but if the tide is turning, he seems like above all else a survivor. So could he have ratted out Jax? That's an interesting thing that I hadn't considered.
It would be an interesting turn of events also, because then that ended up with Colette getting killed if he's involved with that. But I feel like it's more than just Jury involved, because I'm not sure that Jury necessarily knew where the guns ended up going.
Well, is there any way that August Marks has caught wind of what's going on and he's aligning with the Triad? Is that a possibility that August Marks knows that Jax has been moving against him as well, and now he just needs to spring to action here?
That's interesting. August Marks was kind of an afterthought for the most part. We saw stuff going on with the Pastor-gate, and so
yeah, Sons of Anarchy got pastored, Rob.
They got pastored for sure. And so I don't know exactly if he's going to be a factor in this. I mean, there was so much track laid last week of him like, hey, I'm the deadliest guy on the streets, but then August Marks wasn't really seen tonight. Although the specter of his presence was definitely over the whole Pastor storyline.
Well, I think just to talk it out a little bit more, so let's say Jury reveals what happened to the Triad. August Marks was very concerned about the hit on the Chinese guns from a few weeks ago. If Jury tells the Triad what happened, then the Triad goes to August Marks, who has been blamed for hitting the massage parlors. Isn't it possible that the two just put their heads together and realize, oh, well, Jax Teller is screwing with both of us. Let's just screw with him. And that lines up pretty well with August Marks saying, I have no remorse for you or any of the Sons, Jax.
But what do you think that August could have been doing in that? Because everything that we saw, it seemed like it was all Lynn's guys. Like, it wasn't like a joint operation like we saw last week with the massage parlor hits, where we saw the Sons and the other guys working together.
Right. Well, the Niners also seem kind of loyal to Jax right now, unless that's a ruse.
Yeah. So much going on. So much going on with the politics of all these different sects of charming.
Well, I think one thing we can certainly say definitively is the Triad knows what's up. Whether or not they know why Jax has been targeting them is unclear, but I imagine that they probably do. Let's say Jury is the rat. Jury's going to tell the Triad what Jax told him. he's out for Lynn's head for what happened to Tara. So that adds a whole new complication to it, because Jax is going to have to untangle this mess with the Triad while still trying to get revenge against the guy. But what if Henry Lynn says, well, just to be clear, I didn't kill your wife, but you have screwed with me, and now I am going to end you. Is Jax going to buy that at face value, or is he still just going to be dead set on killing Lynn for the murder of Tara? What's going to happen with that?
Well, we've been talking about this all season, where at some point, like, there's going to be
he's got to find out
realization where Jax is like, a la, Joe Bluth. He's going to say, I've made a terrible mistake.
Oh, I thought you were going to say caw caw.
Yeah, you could say either one, but yeah, I've made a big mistake. And he's going to realize that what he's done. I mean, what's the body count on Gemma's lie right now? I mean,
huge.
Yet, how many people died at Diosa? How many people died on the raid of, hitting Lynn's guns, between the guy that Jax killed? If you want to count Tara herself and Roosevelt.
Of course, you got to count them.
Like 30 people.
Well, the great irony, too, is the Diosa massacre. If Gemma hadn't left to go check in on Juice, because she gets the phone call that Juice, there's the APB out on Juice, she goes to check in on him, and Colette covers for her. If that call hadn't come through, Gemma gets killed in her own lie. She gets killed at Diosa.
All right, let's get into the Gemma stuff. And what you want to talk about, Gemma and Juice, or you want to hit on Gemma and Colette while we're there?
There's not much to hit on Gemma and Colette anymore.
Oh my God!
There was a brief moment where it seemed like Colette was being reintroduced to possibly be a new love interest for Jax. And Gemma saying, "Hey, you're all right. I like you. You could be good for him." And Colette being like, "I'm not really looking for a marriage blessing, but I appreciate it." So they're really kind of setting Colette to be the rebound. And no, that's not where we're going with that.
Specifically, Josh, what was your take on the mommy fetish dialogue?
Right, that was strange. What does he say? Like, if I had a mommy fetish, I'd be looking for some sort of psycho dominatrix?
It seemed to me a little bit like breaking the fourth wall, just those two characters having that conversation.
What do you mean? Are you accusing Kurt Sutter of having a mommy fetish?
No, it just seemed odd that, from the relationship that we've seen, like, Jax and Gemma have over the 7 seasons, it almost seemed like kind of meta for them to almost be talking about these two characters in a way that maybe, like, the viewer might be talking about like that, to say that maybe does Jax have some sort of a mommy fetish, and talking about these two characters. I just thought it was all out of character, literally and figuratively, for those two to be having that conversation.
It was a bizarre conversation. It was definitely a little strange. I don't think that Jax has a mommy fetish. I do think Jax loves his mom quite a bit. I don't think he loves her in that way. But it was an awkward scene, especially when he's like, first off, if I had a mommy fetish, I would be going after a psychodominatrix. And she goes, that's fair. And then he says, and please don't ever say the words mommy fetish to me ever again.
Yeah. It was very
Which
unusual.
I co-sign. I would like to never hear that on Sons of Anarchy again.
Let's not go there anymore.
No, that was once was enough. Maybe too much.
Let's put it to bed. Let's put that to bed.
Well, what else about Gemma? I mean, looks like Gemma's thinking about taking our advice and closing the loop on Juice, right?
Yeah, the Juice storyline, definitely took a turn this week with the APB is out there, and now, Juice is definitely, the Juice storyline is going to be coming to an end, right?
Well, it certainly looks like it could. I've been thinking about this a lot since watching the episode. So both, Gemma says that she's going to personally drive Juice to her father's house. She goes back to her house to pack some things for Juice. One of the things she packs is a gun with a silencer. That's certainly ominous. But when we go and check in on Juice, and he's packing stuff as well, he also has a gun with a silencer. So these are we looking at Chekhov's silenced pistols here? Are they going to go off next week?
Yeah. Maybe it could be like a Police Academy 4, where they both get there, but they take each other's bag, and because they look identical. And then
Which one was 4? Was Steve Gutenberg still in play?
I believe it's where they go to
Is it
Miami.
still the Mahoney era?
Yes, and somebody has like a suitcase like full of money, and somebody else has somebody in the police academy has like a suitcase full of their clothes,
This
and then they
isn't the one where they go to Russia.
no,
No,
no, I didn't even know there was one when they went to Russia.
that's after Gutenberg.
Yeah, and so they end up with like Gemma picks up the Juice's bag, and she's like, "Hey, it's all Juice's clothes." Like, wait, he has a gun? What do you think of that? That'd be hilarious, right?
Well, they both it's like an equal trade. They both just have a gun. It's the same deal.
Except they realize that the other one has a gun. I mean, why does Juice need a gun with a silencer?
Well, because Juice needs to protect himself. I don't question Juice having a gun with a silencer. Really, everybody is out for him. You know, the club is out to kill him, and the cops are out to arrest him. So he needs to protect himself. I get that. Gemma having the gun, to me, can only mean that she plans to kill Juice, or at the very least is seriously considering it at this point. And I think you're talking about the Juice storyline ending. I feel like can the Juice storyline end here without him being the guy who tells Jax what happened? I feel like he has to be the guy who tells Jax what happened, and I think that could be his way into buying his way back into the club. To some extent, at least in some sort of loose partnership. But certainly he can't kill Gemma. That's not how Gemma dies. If any of them are going to die, Gemma will kill Juice. Juice can't kill Gemma.
That's right. That's right. Juice can't kill Gemma. But the whole thing about Juice with the silencer, I mean, I feel like the silencer is like, I'm going to go kill somebody. I need a silencer. That's why I use a silencer. If for Juice, if he has a gun for self-defense, I'm not sure why he has a silencer.
Because he's probably going to go kill somebody. But who's it going to be?
Yeah. I mean, is it just the most polite way to kill yourself?
Well, that is kind of polite, noise control.
Yeah.
That's something to consider. I always get mad at TV shows. Like whenever Jack Bauer would go out on a field mission on 24 without a silencer, I would get really angry at him. So I approve of the silencer. I feel like that's the smart thing to do.
Yeah. I feel like
Says
they
a guy who knows literally nothing about firearms.
Yeah, they say that the silencer really does not do as much as it like on
on TV. It does a lot though.
Yeah,
the cool
TV. It's like
a laser gun. Yeah.
But in real life, they say like it really doesn't do that much.
Good thing we're talking about TV then.
Yes, good thing. Because we are TV gun experts, not real life.
Right. TV rules. The silencer creates a very silent firearm.
It's very good.
Very good. Very stealth. But yeah, I'm kind of wondering. What's going to happen and how plans are going to change once Gemma finds out about what the Triad did in Diosa and what the Triad did at Scoops. Once she hears about the Chinese retaliation, if that changes anything for her, if she owns any more responsibility in that, how does Juice react to hearing something like that? Because he knows that the cover story is the Chinese, and that's why I'm thinking that Juice, if he finds out about what just happened in Charming, he might say, my own life be damned, I'm going back to the Sons and I'm filling them in, and I will either offer myself as an asset to them or they can do what they want, but it's like my last thing that I can atone for. So I can see Juice hearing about this and going back to Charming.
Yeah, forget about Gemma will be like, oh, we got to hit them back. We got to go after. We got to go after Lynn.
We have to kill their children and their women and kill them all. Yeah.
No, but I think you're right about Juice being sort of the moral compass of trying to get things back to where they should be. I thought it's very interesting. Unser and Wendy are on Juice duty. Why is Wendy getting brought into this? Like, why is Wendy taking shifts of going and watching after Juice? We said a couple of weeks ago we thought Wendy had a chance to be one of the last people standing at the end of the show, but she's got to get away from all of this Juice business. This is the kind of stuff that's going to get her ending up dead.
Yeah, this is not great for Wendy. Why is she doing it? She knows about him. She's proven that she's not going to say anything about him. She's proven that she wants, she's invested in Juice surviving because she's a good person and doesn't want to see another person dead. So 3 heads are better than 2. It's better than just being Gemma and Unser looking out after Juice. I think, Wendy being involved.
I'm going to start to paint Wendy with one of the brushes I used to criticize Tara with. Wendy, at times has seemed like she's a smart person. Why is she continuing to be involved with the Sons? I know she wants to be a part of Abel's life, but why is she getting more and more involved with these shenanigans?
Well, didn't she say not so long ago that she's still in love with Jax?
Okay, look, Jax is a hot guy. Don't get
He's
me wrong.
he's very
Don't
hot.
get me wrong. But when you are, aiding and abetting to the degree that she's being involved with these guys, she knows what the Sons are about. Does she really? She knows Jax came and stuck her with a speedball recently.
Correct.
I mean, at some point, Wendy's got to know
Did she
what's in
think
her
that
open
was hot
system.
too?
Hey, look, It didn't seem like she thought it was that hot.
Apparently she does, because she still loves him.
I don't know. I'm not sure why Wendy is
Maybe you
sticking
need to
around for this.
rethink the whole Wendy is smart thing to begin with.
I guess so.
Wendy is great. She's very nice. I bet she would be, now that she's sobered up, I bet she'd be a great mother. But smart, she's not getting out of charming fast enough. I think that's a sign that maybe intelligence is not her strength.
Who's the smarter Drea Di Matteo character, Wendy or Adriana?
I mean, come on. That's going to go pretty decisively for Wendy.
Wendy.
Yeah.
Okay. Smarter than Adriana.
Yeah, Adriana was wonderful, 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 but
What about
not the brightest.
Joey Tribbiani's sister?
Oh, yeah, well, she's related to a Tribbiani, so probably not so great.
Okay, so this is the smartest Drea Di Matteo character of all time.
I think so. That sounds about right.
Okay. Just going back to Juice, do you think it would be a good move for Juice to stop shaving his head?
Yeah, because he's got like these really distinctive tattoos on his head that maybe he wants to keep covered up.
Yeah.
I would say just like grow out a fro, like get it, like grow out your hair as long as possible.
I think that would probably be
like
the best.
A big beard too would be good.
Like you would think that in the time that Juice is sort of like on that. I mean, it's got to be what 2-3 weeks now in Sons of Anarchy time.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah, I would say maybe it might be time to grow out the hair a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
So, what do you think of Juice's butt?
Love Juice's butt. I'm a big fan of the juicy butt.
Yeah, it's a good butt.
It's great. Whenever Juice's butt makes a cameo, it's always a good time.
So now, what's going on with Juice, like running the shower and talking to himself? Is this that he just can't deal with the quiet? He needs to fill the room with noise just to stop himself from sort of like thinking?
Yeah, so if it's been 2 weeks on Sons of Anarchy in the current season, let's just call it that right now, it had been, almost 2 weeks between the end of Season 6 and the beginning of Season 7, so he's really kind of been on his own for a while, and he's been on his own with the weight of some pretty terrible things. Everybody that he loves wants him dead. He assisted, Gemma in covering up terrorism. He killed Eli Roosevelt, who, he certainly had a weird relationship with, but at certain points in time was, fond of to some degree. So a lot of really bad things have happened to Juice, not like even counting all of the Season 4 nonsense that he got himself involved in. So Juice has had it really, really rough, and I think that he's just finally kind of cracking. And he's alone, and he needs somebody to talk to, and if he doesn't have an actual person to talk to, then talking to himself in the shower is not the worst second option, I guess.
Okay, so we'll see what ultimately ends up happening with Juice. Now, Unser is a bit distracted. Of course, we had the incident with the police officers that ended up getting sort of roped into this whole nonsense with the drug deal with Marilyn Manson. First, were you excited to see Marilyn Manson return more or Courtney Love appear for the first time?
It was so weird how normal Courtney Love was, right? She's just playing the really super normal preschool teacher. That's not what I would expect from Courtney Love on Sons of Anarchy.
Well, it's sort of like you could go one of two ways if you get Courtney Love. It's like, do you want to try to make Courtney Love be more like the most Courtney Love you've ever seen, or do you want to get Courtney Love and play her against type?
Yeah, it's like Gemma's playing Courtney Love, and Courtney Love is probably like Katie Seagal in real life.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see. Ultimately, you don't think that they bring in Courtney Love to sort of just be a very bland, vanilla school teacher. You got to think at some point Courtney Love's character is going to do something, right?
Is she a mole?
Is she a mole? Is she going to report?
Mole Patrol?
Is she going to report Gemma to Child Protective Services or something like that?
It's possible. I could see it. Yeah, I mean, I can see her just coming on to the show if she's just a big fan of the show, which I think a lot of people who've guessed it on Sons of Anarchy are. I'm thinking back to Stephen King,
Yeah.
just popping up for no real reason. So I could see Courtney Love just wanting to be on Sons because she's a fan of Sons. But you would like to think that they're going to do something a little bit more with that character. And yeah, I was pumped to see Marilyn Manson. I think that his character is pretty fun
Yeah.
for an Aryan. Maybe fun's the wrong word to use.
Okay, so we have all that stuff going on. We should probably spend some time on Tig and Venus, right?
Well, we got to talk about the cop thing because
Okay, all right, that's right.
the cop thing is big. So
It's a
Jackson.
huge episode. There was so much that happened.
It was it really was. I thought this was a really good one. Just a ton of stuff happened. You and I before the season started talking, Rob, we talked about how at least on Sons of Anarchy things happen all the time. Things absolutely happened on last night's episode, and one of the big ones was the shooting of these two cops because they're looking for Jackson Chibbs to bring them in to Althea Jerry. She's looking for them, and they just so happen to spot them at the exact wrong time, and they follow them to the meet with the Aryan Brotherhood, and the Aryan Brotherhood is understandably spooked to see cops, and they open fire, and they kill Officer Kane, and they think that they kill Officer Egley, but she only has severe injuries, I'm sure, but she's alive. So it's a really messy thing, and she can place the Sons at the scene of the crime. So if she regains consciousness, that's another potential thorn in the Sons' side, and I'm wondering how that's going to play out.
She really took a lot of bullets.
She took like machine gun fire to the back.
Yeah, I'm like, boy, how did she? Like, I was surprised that Tig lived through getting shot, and she got shot a lot.
She got shot a lot. And what do you think? When the last time we see her in this episode, it's Unser is sitting next to her by the hospital bed, right?
Oh, well, of course, it's a woman. Anytime a woman.
Well, she was
is,
also his former colleague once upon a time. But he does love the ladies. Unser loves the ladies.
Unser loves the ladies. Anytime, had it been the other way around, I don't think you would have seen Unser, at the
which cop is still alive? It's the dude. The dude survived. Forget it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he's.
I'll come to the funeral.
Yeah. But yeah, there's Unser, and so.
But he's there, and so I'm wondering. Does she wake up and confess that it was like the Sons that were there, and then she dies, and now the information is with Unser? Is that a way that we could go with this?
So do you think Unser is ultimately going to turn on the Sons by the end of this? Is that Unser's redemption where, it's just a bridge too far with everything when he finds out that they had to do with Tara's death, it wasn't the Chinese, that they had to do with, another person? Does he get to the point where he's like, the club is no good?
Yeah, I could see it. I certainly could. I think that's, if he finds out the extent of what happened to Tara, which is certainly something he's looking into, is he going to cover up for Gemma? And if he finds out that the Sons were at the scene of the crime when, two cops got killed, is he going to be able to just sit on that? I don't know. And then the real question is, let's say Unser does decide he's going to turn on the Sons. Can he live through that decision? That I'm not so sure about. I'm a little nervous for Unser. He's at the center of some real drama right now. That guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I also think that the Sons had a good thing going where they were able to sort of buy off the sheriff last week, but I feel like that is going to be a very short-lived alliance because when she was there when the grenade went off in the ice cream stand, even she can't stand by anymore.
Well, you would think so, but then she gets a lift home from Chibbs, who's holding her hand.
Well, because I think she has the hots for Chib.
She has the hots for Chibbs, for Scotty, as she likes to call him.
Yeah.
Is she going to be able to be against the Sons and be with Chibbs? Is she going to have to make a choice there? Right now, she seems to be leaning towards Chibbs.
Boy, the heart wants what the heart wants, Josh.
Do you buy that relationship, or do you think it's a little quick?
I feel like it's a little bit of a stretch because for my money, she seemed like she was a good cop, and it seems like that would be out of character for her to just be so quickly to be in bed with the Sons, again, literally and figuratively.
At least neutral. She seemed like at least a neutral cop.
Yes, but no, she likes the money. And she likes Chibs.
She likes the green.
So what are you gonna do? All right, so can we please talk
Yes.
about Tig and
Yes.
Venus now?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So, of course, well, I think
Penis.
we have to go probably to this by route of the pastor. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. What is going on here where we walked in a room and there's like a three-way going on and there's some other guy filming what's going on. And it turns out that that guy was a pastor. And so finally it comes to pass that this guy he was in business with August Marks. Now, Josh, refresh my memory. Why did the Sons get involved with killing these people in the first place?
They were suspected of being the guys who rolled up on the Grim Bastards, who killed a few of the Grim Bastards. They had tracked the car that they were looking for down to this complex, and they thought that these pastors were the guys who killed the Grim Bastards.
And so was that just a mistake, and then this was just a coincidence that this guy happened to be in business with August Marks?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we're finding out that this guy had some interesting skeletons in his closet. Other than his sex habits, he was connected with Venus Van Dam. He's connected with August Marks. Who knows how much further this pastor's ties to the stories of Sons of Anarchy go? So maybe they got the right guy. Who knows?
Okay.
But they didn't think so. They basically figured, oh, we just randomly killed some pastors who were having sex with each other. That sucks. Let's just bury them. So this was a surprise that he was connected to August Marks.
So they dug up the guy's phone, and the phone doesn't work. I guess he wasn't using his phone as a phone, but he was using it as a video camera to record all of his sex stuff. This guy loved recording sex stuff.
Reference material.
Yes, yes. And so he had a interesting personal experience or interpersonal experience with one Venus, and then they filmed it, and then they were able to watch the tape, and that was also a very interesting video.
Yeah, and Tig seemed to be very into the video.
Some crap went down.
Some crap really literally went down.
And so they end up bringing in bringing in Venus, and again, there's always been this flirtation between her and Tig, and then ultimately, after Tig gets shot in the episode, we see that this relationship is progressing. Is this the first time that they've kissed?
I think they've gotten close. I don't think that they've ever had a moment like this. Some people wait a lifetime. They only had to wait a couple seasons for this big kiss.
They were a real Justin and Kelly.
They really are. Which one's Justin and which one's Kelly? Is Venus both?
You cannot define love, Josh.
It's true. And yeah, so Tig he's had the hots for Venus for quite a while, and he gets lucky. Here we go.
Now,
It's on.
do you think that we'll be seeing more of Venus? Will this be an ongoing relationship throughout season 7?
I think that we're going to see a good amount more of her. I feel like the actor Walton Goggins really loves playing this character, and Kurt Sutter really loves the character as well. I think that they've really enjoyed having Venus as part of the show. Certainly, Walton Goggins has his hands full. He's going to be on the final season of Justified coming up pretty soon, so he's not going to be able to. I don't know what the crossover in terms of production schedule, shooting schedules on the two shows are. But that would interfere. But I believe Justified shoots in LA as well, so maybe it's not so hard. I think that we're going to see more of Venus, and I feel like the Tig and Venus thing in a very unexpected way is going to be a big love story for season 7. It's like the one happy thing that happened in this episode.
Yeah, and am I crazy, or like was that remarkably sweet? Like, I mean,
It was great.
It's almost the most human thing that the Tig character has ever gone through.
The only other thing that would compete with it is like
The
the night
daughter?
his daughter dies. That
Yeah.
was pretty
But he got
horrible.
over it so quickly.
He does get over it pretty quickly. Have you noticed, Rob, that people tend to get over the death of loved ones pretty fast on Sons of
Not
Anarchy?
Jax. Not Jax.
Arguably.
He's coping in his own way.
He's coping in his own way. He's not very emotional about it. He's very violent about it. But yeah, no, I thought that the scene with Tig and Venus was great. And Walton Goggins is just the best. That guy is such a good actor. And that whole scene of like, well, I was born a man and now I'm an angel was just a really, really great speech. So I was a big fan of it. And, if there's more Venus on Sons of Anarchy, I'm going to be a happy guy.
Would you be on board for a Venus Sons of Anarchy spin-off?
Like Better Call Venus?
Better Call Venus, yes. It could be a prequel, could be picking up after the end of Sons of Anarchy.
It could be a prequel after Sons of Anarchy, during Sons of Anarchy.
Time jumps.
Flexible timeline.
Yeah. I think that's what they're doing with Better Call Saul.
Yeah, I would like to see Venus on Better Call Saul. How about that?
Would that be the number one character you'd want to see a Sons of Anarchy spin-off based on?
Either Venus or Chucky.
Yeah.
I would watch the Chucky spinoff.
Which,
Although I feel like Chucky could be like the Mike Ehrmantraut of Better Call Venus. Like,
yeah.
just popping up.
Chucky has been very underutilized here in season 7.
He didn't have much to do in this episode, but he's like a reliable babysitter usually.
Yeah. He made it through the ice cream shop explosion unscathed.
Do you think that his hands were damaged?
He lost his fingers.
Yeah, but the actual fingers, so now he has no functional fingers?
Yes, he lost the 2 good fingers.
Oh, that would be horrible.
Oh my God.
Poor
Oh my
Chucky.
God. Let's see. What else do we have to still work through from this episode? How about let's talk about Nero's perspective on things.
Sure, I think that's actually really important. Nero has been caught in the middle for a long while now. Since the end of season 6 and all throughout season 7 here, he's done his best to kind of keep the peace. He didn't want to have to make a decision about which side to be on, but decisions have been made for him. The Triad attacking Diosa is an attack against Nero, even though they give him the heads up saying, what's about to happen at Diosa affects you. We're sorry. Is sorry going to cut it for Nero? And then the other question is going to be if Nero finds out what Jax has been doing, which you have to imagine he's not a stupid guy, and he's right there with Jax right now with all of the sons while all of this is happening. Is Nero about to find out the truth of what Jax suspects about the Triad? How is that going to factor into Nero's thinking? So it's already been a really tough situation for Nero that I think has just gotten exponentially harder. Really, really difficult for Nero. So it's interesting. Nero's in an interesting spot.
Well, don't forget to add in the layer of what is Nero going to say if he finds out that Gemma killed Tara.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
But the worst thing that ever happened to Nero was buying that drink for Gemma.
That was a bad choice.
I think Gemma even said to him at one point, like, I bet you wish you never bought me that drink. He's like, no way, mama.
Yeah, no way, mama. Well, I think eventually it's going to be yeah way, mama.
I mean, what happened to the first Diosa? What happened to the second Diosa? I mean, everything that's ever other than something happening to his kid, I mean, this has all been downhill for Nero.
Yeah, well, we've speculated about how maybe this could be, one way to get to both Gemma and Jax from an emotional standpoint would be to kill Nero off. Do you think that the events of this episode make it likelier for Nero to die by the end of Sons of Anarchy?
Well, who would kill Nero?
I don't know. The Mayans could kill Nero if they suspect that he's with the Sons, the Triad. I don't think anyone from Sam Crow would, but I think that those would be the guys, maybe August Marks.
I mean, does Nero just want to have nothing to do with these guys anymore?
I don't think he's got that chore. He's too valuable a chess piece for both sides.
I mean, so do you think that this stuff pushes Nero closer to the Sons or further away from the Sons?
That's what I can't figure out. I'm having a hard time predicting that because I think if he finds out about what Jax has been doing to the Triad, Jax outright lying to Nero about his feelings on the whole situation, I think that really impacts Nero. But certainly what the Triad just did, and they're aligned with the Mayans, I don't think that he's going to be too happy about that. So really hard to say. Nero, that's what I'm saying. Nero is really caught in a pickle right now.
Does the fact that Lynn's guys called up and said, "Hey, this isn't about you. This is about hurting the Sons," does that make him like the Sons more or less?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's going to endear him to the Triad and the Mayans anymore. And I don't think that he's going to like that whatever the Suns are doing just got all of his girls killed. So I don't think that Nero likes anybody. What I think, Rob, what I could see is Nero thinking what you're thinking. I'm done with all of this. I shouldn't have gotten back into this mess in the first place. I'm out. Peace out. Done. I don't think he gets to make that choice, though. I think that people see too much value in Nero being somebody who can get to the Suns or somebody who can get to the Mayans. I think both sides are going to want to keep Nero in play, and no matter what, he's just too far deep to go back now.
Josh, did you think after the Diosa massacre, did you think Lila was dead?
No, because she's on post production on a Rob, did we lose you?
Yes. Hold on. Hold on. How about now?
I hear you.
Good. Good. Sorry about that. We had the Lynn's guys must have gotten a hold of our feed for a
Oh my
second.
God.
Yeah. So good, Lila. But you're right. You're right that Lila is. She's directing all of this pornography. But thank God because she was not there at Diosa, where she has been quite a bit.
She has been quite a bit. She dodged a bullet and Gemma dodged a bullet in a very real way.
Yes. I just was thinking when we saw the Tig and Venus scene, it exactly was like every single pornographic scene they've ever shot on Sons of Anarchy.
Yes.
Where it's like okay, move in and a kiss. It's like and cut. All right, we got it. Great job, everybody.
Well, I wonder how far they got before the grenade went off.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Not a euphemism.
Yeah, not a euphemism.
Maybe.
Let's talk about just a couple other quick fun things from the episode. There was a point when they were going into the house to look for the pastor's wife when Bobby and Tig were going one way, and Bobby's like, all right, Tig, I'll go this way, you go this way. Did Tig say giggity?
Yeah, he's the Quagmire of Sons of Anarchy.
Well, he really is the Quagmire
He
of
is.
Sons of Anarchy.
Giggity, giggity, gee.
Josh, did you watch the Simpsons Family Guy crossover episode?
I couldn't bring myself to do it.
You couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. Couldn't pull the trigger.
I watched most
nothing.
of it.
I've heard nothing but rave reviews.
Yes, yes. All right. Would you like to see a Sons of Anarchy crossover episode with any other show?
It would be good on the Simpsons. I feel like Sons on the Simpsons would be good.
Sons on the Simpsons.
Ron Perlman kind of looks like a Simpsons character already.
Yeah, he does. That would be very good.
Yeah.
That would be very good. Also, another thing I thought that was a very interesting line, not necessarily a funny one, was when they had the meeting of the Sons and they were talking about what they were going to be doing, and Bobby had a line of like, hey, just do you guys remember what it was like when we just had to decide which Mayan to kill?
Yeah, that's right. And I think Jack says simpler times, Bobby.
Yeah, so definitely simpler times.
Well, what do you think about, we're talking about Jax's reaction to what happens at Diosa. We're talking about Nero's reaction. What is a guy like Bobby going to say at this point? What are some of the Sons going to say? Are they going to look at Jax and say, enough, too far?
That's been one of my biggest surprises about season 7, where Bobby, in the beginning, the end of season 5, beginning of season 6, where he was considering, going with the nomads and really getting away from the Sons because it was getting away from where it was supposed to be.
They made you think that was what he was doing.
Or it was some sort of flirtation at least with maybe leaving. But I feel like that Bobby is another one of these guys who's like one of the consciences of the Sons, and he really has never questioned any of this plan.
Well, the one time that we got that's been a concern of mine as well, based on how the season has shaped up so far. But it was either last week or 2 weeks ago when he kind of goes up to Jackson and says, hey, if you want to slow this thing down too, that's totally cool. We can do that. And Jack says, no, I'm good. I'm great. So Bobby has floated that out there, and tonight he gave the whole spiel about simpler times, man. This was, we used to just have to figure out which Mayan to kill. So I could see Bobby reacting to something like this and saying, Jax, no mas.
No mas, no mas. All right, let's take a couple of questions from you guys, and let's take one from Mark Solera, the great Mark Solera, who wants to say, simple question: where in the living f do we go from here?
Oh, Mark, that's not such a simple question. That's a tough question. It's hard to know. There's so much up in the air right now. And one thing that we certainly know is the secret's out. Jax is after the Triad, and the Triad knows. So Jax's whole vengeance plan of I'm gonna slowly strip away everybody that the Triad cares about, and reveal myself to be their only friend, and then reveal myself to be their traitor, and slowly kill these guys. That's done. That's out. That's not happening anymore. It's not like Jax can go to Henry Lynn now and be like, "What? I didn't do anything. Jury told you that. Jury's a liar." His that plan is over. He's done. So he has to come up with a new plan, and I mean, blood has been spilled in Charming now. So I think we're looking at all-out war. I think that that's where we're going next.
Can I say something about season 7 of Sons of Anarchy that might be a polarizing opinion,
Let's hear
but
it.
I've missed Clay this season
Sure. Yeah.
because I thought that Clay was the natural way to sort of bring in the family stuff into the club stuff. So while we have stuff that's happening with the club, and then we have stuff that's happening, this story with Gemma, it's really just sort of like things are just happening one after the next. This is sort of like a chain reaction, but there's nobody. I feel like within the Suns, there's no tension between everything. Like everybody in the Suns is kind of on the same page. Whereas I feel like during the Clay era, in the first 6 seasons, there was a lot of tension, internal and external conflict in the Suns.
Well, I wonder if that changes once the cat's out of the bag that the Triad did not kill Tara and Jax has driven them to war for no good reason. And I
Mm-hmm.
wonder once, right, I think that could be the arc of the season that, the first thing we hear when the Suns get back together at the beginning of season 7 is we love you, we trust you, what do you need us to do? What happens when their trust has been misplaced? Does their love go away too? Do they do different things? So I think that that could be where we're going, and I don't think that you need Clay to do that. What I miss about Clay is I just miss Clay because he's such a fun character. He was such a great character, and Ron Perlman was such a presence. And I think that you get a little bit of that with Jimmy Smits as Nero. I think is a pretty adequate replacement in terms of bringing just outside presence, like the force of a real, big noticeable actor to the show. I think that he's really good and fills that role. But there was something, just there was something about Sons of Anarchy in those first few seasons where it really was, as much as it was the Charlie Hunnam show, it was the Ron Perlman show as well. So that aspect of the show has died, and I do miss it for the final season. I don't know how you stretch Clay's story out so far that he made it to season 7. I think that his story, his season 5 story was pretty interesting actually, but in season 6, the writing was on the wall. This guy was on his way out. And after season 4 with the big confrontation with him and Jax and the fact that he lives past that, that was a big shock. So I don't know how you get him to season 7, but I love Ron Perlman as well. I would love to see Clay on this show still.
Can I give you a really interesting note from the Ron Perlman AMA on Reddit?
Yeah, please.
Okay, this was posted in the Sons of Anarchy Reddit, which is reddit.com Sons of Anarchy. They say somebody asks Ron Perlman, how do you deal with constantly feeling like a total badass on the set of Sons of Anarchy?
Uh-huh.
And Ron Perlman said, lonely.
Lonely, wow.
Wow, how about that?
That's a badass answer.
That's a badass answer. You think Ron Perlman is annoyed that his character isn't in the final season? Is he pissed?
No, I don't think so. I I've heard from I can't remember who I've heard this from that the cast of Sons of Anarchy was very very close, and not that Ron Perlman wasn't close with those guys, but the rest of them were all a lot of those guys are really close in age, and I think their characters were close in terms of the amount of things that they had to do, and I've heard that Ron Perlman wasn't super in tight with those guys in the same way that maybe the actors who played Juice and Tig would hang out in Chibs. So I think that maybe that's part of what he means by lonely. And I also know I think it was season 5 I interviewed Ron Perlman for MTV, and he would tell me that what his character was starting to do was so unrecognizable to him and so far away from the character that he played at the beginning of the show that he would have a tough time kind of accepting who he was having to play at this point. So I think towards the end of Sons of Anarchy, it was kind of a lonely experience for Ron Perlman. I think that he started playing a character that he didn't recognize anymore.
Okay. Let's take a question from Twitter from Jason Burning, who says, do you guys think that we're going to see a Mexican standoff with Gemma and Juice when we get to Gemma's dad's house? Well, what does this have to do with the Mayans?
Yeah, what about the Mayans? The Mayans have to be involved, right?
You would think so.
I think for a Mexican standoff, don't you need to have like multiple people in the room and everybody has a gun on each other? I don't know if it's enough just to have Juice and Gemma. I don't know if that applies.
Yeah, a Mexican standoff is sort of like the menage a trois of gunplay, right?
I think so. I think you got to have more than 2. I think it's got to be 3 or more, and probably you're looking at like, you want 5. I think 5's a good number.
Yes, I think 3 is probably the minimum. Trace is the minimum for a Mexican standoff.
But I think that's interesting. Are the 2 just going to like hold guns on each other all night long? Juice and Gemma just holding each other at gunpoint?
Well, if we know Juice, then he'll like in the morning be like, all right, whatever, you know.
Who
Let
wins?
me just let you go.
Who wins that immunity challenge? It's a big endurance challenge.
Gemma, always go on Gemma.
I think so too.
Gemma is never gonna give up, never gonna let go.
Is Gemma gonna kill Juice in the next episode?
I don't think so.
Too early for Juice to die, or is that not how Juice dies?
I think you're right. I think that Juice has to fulfill his destiny in the show. Being the person who ultimately he has to pass this information along before he goes. Now, he could potentially tell Unser what happened and then get killed by Gemma, but he has to pass that little nugget of information along before he dies. He cannot die with that information.
I agree.
Or write a note and put the note somewhere and give the note to Unser or put it in the mailbox or something. But as long as he has that secret, he will not die.
I agree.
I think so. Okay. All right, Josh, any final thoughts from Sons of Anarchy? Poor Little Lambs.
Poor Little Lambs.
I called it Pretty Little Lambs earlier in the show. I apologize. I'm fact-checking myself.
Pretty Little Liars?
No, Poor Little Lambs. Don't confuse us.
Poor Little Lambs. No, it was a big episode and a real lots of momentum in this one, and I like that. I had been concerned that they were really going to stretch out Jax's, like stealth war against the Triad for the whole season, and this really forces the hand of the show. The show really now needs to ramp things up. They certainly just ramped things up in a very big way. So the secret's out, and that's very bad for everybody who was in Diosa that night, but I think it's very good for the audience and for the show. I think that we can start moving things along a little bit more. And now it's, having something like that happen in the 4th episode of the final season really makes it feel like, final season material, and it gets you really excited about the remaining episodes.
Yeah, we got 9 episodes left to go, and
last 9.
Last 9, which is roughly about 36 more hours of Sons of Anarchy, Josh.
Wow, yeah, we're gonna be up for a while.
We're gonna be up for a while. All right, but that's good. That's why we're doing it. We're doing this on Wednesdays. So join us on Wednesdays when we record our Sons of Anarchy live show. Again, we'll let you know the time for next week. But then we are going to be settling in to our 10:30 a.m. time slot. And really, if you're enjoying the show, it really would help us out if you leave us some of your feedback on iTunes, which is at postshowrecaps.com/sonsiTunes. Or on our main feed at postshowrecaps.com/iTunes. And also, we'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. Tell us your thoughts on what you agree or disagree with about what we've said here today at postshowrecaps.com.
Do that. Do that now.
Josh, you got a hashtag for our Suns recap.
Is Tennis allowable?
I think that's allowable. I mean, what's Tennis? Nobody knows what that is.
Tenus. Tennis.
Tennis. All right. So very, very fun to get to talk to some Suns with you today, Josh, and looking forward to our next chat next week.
Yes, looking forward to it, Rob.
All right, take care, everybody. Have a good one.